Hey everybody, Eric back for the weekly news recap for the 28th of November to the 4th of December 2022. Sorry, we're a little bit late. I was still in bed. Anyway, moving on. So, what happened this week? Well, a couple of different games got announced this week ahead of the Game Awards. I guess they didn't want to wait for the Jeff Keighley show. So, first up is Amnesia: The Bunker. This is just a teaser trailer. It's not showing off too much, though. I think if you have played many of the Amnesia games before, then you probably have an idea of what's happening here. It's a first-person, claustrophobic, cat and mouse survival horror type game. You do have this light source that appears to be more stressful. At least you're not going around hunting for like flashlights and stuff like that. You just have a whatever they call a kinetically powered one, and guns, which has not showed up, as far as I'm aware, have not showed up in Amnesias or Somas beforehand. We have played the game, the developer's previous game, Soma, which is on the channel somewhere if you want to look it up. It's a very good sci-fi existential crisis kind of thing with some horror elements. To be fair, I played it on story mode, so most of the cat and mouse stuff is mooted, but the other additional existential horror shit, that doesn't go away. Anyway, that's Amnesia, The Bunker. No idea on release dates or anything like that. And then kind of randomly, Starship Troopers as a game announced. Starship Troopers Extermination is meant to be a up to 12 player co-op sandbox shooter kind of thing. So you can think like the very large Battlefield maps, only it's all PvE. So there's like up to 12 of you who are hanging out in these Starship Trooper maps, taking on all these bugs and stuff like that. Characters all have different class types that they can pull from. I think there's 3 different classes. But again, not a whole lot of gameplay either, or any kind of release date or any mention of stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know if you like that kind of thing, I guess. Like a Dragon Ishin has a combat trailer kind of to show off how it is a little bit different from the Yakuza games. So the Yakuza games typically were melee type things. While you could use weapons, they were like kind of rare and didn't hang around for very long. Whereas in Ishin, you are a samurai or a ronin. So you are going to have a sword pretty much all the time. But additional to that, you do have a gun too. Guns were just becoming handheld, I believe, at a time like this, or just becoming now. It's just becoming semi-automatic, so they didn't need like to be primed with like a musket kind of bullshit kind of thing. So it's around that era of Japan's history. Like a Dragon Ishin is a remake of Ishin Yakuza, which never came out in the West, so this would be the first time they would have played anything like that. But otherwise, it's going to play pretty much like a Yakuza game. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, and then a bunch of games that were previously exclusive to other platforms are going to be coming out on PlayStation at least, and I believe on Xbox as well. But PlayStation, any of who have actually announced something. So Monster Hunter Rise, previously exclusive to the Switch and PC, is now going to be on PlayStation in the new year, and Xbox, as I said. So it's coming to everything. The Sunbreak DLC, or the Sunbreak expansion pack, is not available yet. Or, sorry, won't be available on launch. It'll be coming later. Presumably they are working to make that look nice on PlayStation and Xbox Series. But yeah, like, I didn't think this would come to PlayStation, so that's nice. I've really been wanting to play Monster Hunter World with other people for a good while now, but I mean, if Monster Hunter Rise comes to it, it's much more I think it's a lot more noob friendly. People who haven't played the Monster Hunter series before, I think, would enjoy Monster Hunter Rise probably more than Monster Hunter World, even though World has a bit more content, and because it's not constrained by the Switch, it also looks nicer. But Monster Hunter Rise is a bit nicer to new players. So I don't know. Maybe I'll be able to convince some people to play that. I doubt it, but maybe. Anything could happen. And then, as I said, a bunch of indie titles. Sony has been ignoring them for the last year and maybe decided it's coming to the end of the year. We don't actually have anything to release between now and Christmas. God of War is already out. So hey, let's just announce a bunch of indie titles. So going through them, Hello Neighbor 2. I might as well play these trailers even though I don't think I have a ton of control over them. But Hello Neighbor 2, if you're familiar with the original Hello Neighbor, it was it just doesn't want to go full screen. Is that it? Okay, great. Anyway, what was I going to say? Yeah, Hello Neighbor was originally a... it's kind of like a kind of hide and seek game. You were trying to kind of sneak into your neighbor's house who was up to some sort of nefarious dealings, or you believed he was, in the way that kids who don't really know their neighbors kind of think they're up to something, weird and whatever. And they tried to sneak in, and that was kind of the gist of the game. You go deeper into the house and find, he's up to something weird. And Hello Neighbor 2 is kind of more of the same, but the neighborhood's a little bit bigger now, and I believe you can have 4 people play at the same time. So that will be launching December 6th. So it actually isn't on any other platform, as opposed to the vast majority of the rest of these games are on other platforms. Shredders, I think, is a snowboardy type game. I'm gonna guess, or I could just read. Well, he says something about snowboard season, so yeah, okay, right, it's a snowboard game. Okay, sandbox thing, so it's a bit more like EA's Steep rather than something like SSX, which I kind of think people would prefer, like a more arcadey snowboard game. I don't know. But there, I guess, if you want to do some snowboardy stuff. Also December 6th, a lot of these are December 6th. Sky Children of Light doesn't have a trailer for whatever reason, but it is a kind of chill exploration kind of thing where you just sort of fly around this kind of nice landscape and just stop and solve puzzles and stuff like that. And talk to people and that kind of thing. The Forest Quartet, also not getting a trailer, but this, I believe, is a kind of... it's sort of like a musical exploration kind of thing, where you're kind of out in the forest trying to get the band back together, but the band are all dead or something like that. So it's more like a going through their past trauma type deal. Neon White we have played on the channel before and is an excellent speedrunning game for people who aren't speedrunners, basically. It's very fun, very well written, but gameplay wise it just feels really good to play. Like, it's very quick, as you might imagine, since it's meant to be a speedrunny type game. But it's a lot more puzzle focused. It's like there is a route through this level that the developer has, kind of guided you through by the abilities it hands out to you. And you just sort of try to figure out how that's meant to go together. And eventually you'll go, hey, I can actually take some shortcuts here. Some of them are developer intended shortcuts, some of them are not. And it's fun. It's a good game. I really liked it. And that is coming out December 13th. So as opposed to the rest of them, Neon White December 13th, Forest Quartet December 8th, and the rest of them are all December 6th. So if you have some interest in any of those, they're coming out soon enough. A couple of those are coming to the Xbox as well. Some additional news on The Witcher. This was I kind of assumed they were probably going to do this, just because a lot of their pipeline now, ever since The Witcher 2, has kind of been more sandboxy approach thing, but they are going to turn the original Witcher into a more open world game. So it's going to play a little bit more like The Witcher 3, in that you'll have a big map to explore, as opposed to the original Witcher game was a lot more linear. You still had some pretty decently sized maps for the time to kind of roam around in, but you were kind of locked to a particular location per chapter, whereas in the remake it's going to be much bigger and much more open. So I'd be curious how exactly they keep the story working. Is the story still going to be kind of localized into different blocks in the map, or is it going to be... Are they going to send you all over the place, or are they going to flesh out the story a bit more? It'd be interesting to see how that's working. It would also be interesting if they decide to do The Witcher 2 like that as well, or if they just remaster it, possibly. I don't think The Witcher 2 doesn't need to be remade, because it still plays pretty well. The The Witcher 1 does not play well, though. It's very clunky. And trying to get someone who's like, I really like The Witcher 3, I want to go back and play the whole series, and they get hit by the first Witcher and like, holy shit, what is this? Yeah, it's not a fun play. Anyway. Epic Games, free Epic Games this week. First one is Fort Triumph, which is meant to be like an XCOM base builder type thing, but with like cartoonish sort of Warcraft imagery kind of thing. Yeah, okay. Not really my deal, but sure. Knock yourself out. And then RPG in a Box isn't really a game at all. It's a toolkit for making your own games. So think of something like Unity, like RPG Maker, that kind of thing, but very, very toned down, stripped back. It's a lot more in service to this kind of artwork and stuff like that. So there's only there's a limit to how many different types of games you could play, and it's also debatable. If you export your games, do they also still need to have RPG in a Box to play them? Or can they be played as their own separate executables? We don't know. But if you are ever interested in how games are made, this is somewhat of an interesting way to look at it, and it's free. So, I mean, there's that. But if you were very, very serious about making your own games, Unity or RPG Maker would be a lot better for you, just because they will have considerably better documentation. Because more people use them. So if you're stuck on something and you decide to look up RPG in a Box, how do I do thing? Chances are you're not going to get too many answers back. Whereas you do Unity, how do I do thing? You're going to get a shit ton of answers back. So I don't know. That's something to think about. That is why a lot of the industry is pivoting to things like Unreal and stuff like that, not making their own engines anymore, just because there is support for it. You know, if they don't have their own custom engine, like a lot of the bigger publishers would have their own custom engine. EA have what's it called? Frostbite. And Ubisoft have Altair. I'm not sure if they still use that, actually. And Resident Evil have the Resident Evil engine and stuff like that. So they would be kind of on their own on how to figure out problems. Whereas probably more independent developers would be using something like Unreal or Unity, and they would have a much bigger trove of documentation to pull from. Or just community meetups, or just talking to people in Discord groups. It's like, hey, how did you do thing? And they'll be like, oh, I did this, yada, yada. Assuming they're allowed to say that. Anyway, it's being the start of a month. That means monthly games are being refreshed. So first up is PlayStation Plus Essential Group. So remember, this is what is replacing the old PlayStation Plus, which is free games every month on a rotating basis. So some games drop out. So the November games will be disappearing, and they'll be replaced with the December games. So first up is launching directly into PlayStation Plus is DKO, or Divine Knockout. This is meant to be like a Super Smash thing, but for what do they call it? Creative Commons characters. So Hercules, Thor, Athena, that kind of thing. All like myths and what have you that they don't have to, pay anybody licensing for or stuff like that, because they're all very much in the public domain. But it's that kind of thing. It's an arena brawler type deal. Every character has their own specific abilities. They all play a little bit different, and the whole thing is to launch your opponent off the map. Very much like Smash. And is launching directly into PlayStation Plus. The Mass Effect Legendary Edition. The Legendary Edition is the trilogy. So some people were thinking that this was just the first game remastered. No, it is in fact all three games. You get everything that ever came out for those games. So the three core games themselves and all the DLC. All the promo things that were split between fucking Best Buy and Walmart and whoever. Armor packs and all that kind of shit. And then you get the updated stuff like its remastered textures, 4K Ultra HD, all that kind of niceties. It's vastly improved frame rate and that kind of thing. One thing you do not get is the multiplayer mode for Mass Effect 3, for reasons, I believe they lost the code base for it or something like that, or they just weren't arsed implementing it. It's entirely possible as well. Good. I mean, a lot of people did think it was fun, sure, but I was always like... My reason for not liking it is because progress in it was like directly required to get a good ending for Mass Effect 3. And I never, like, I don't like multiplayer PvP in the first place. I definitely don't like required PvP, certainly. Anyway, so you can get the good ending without the good ending. None of them are good endings, but you can get the good ending without having to play multiplayer this time. And then Biomutant is an open world post-apocalyptic kung fu fable RPG, which is the way they're putting it. It's like open world Devil May Cry is what they were going for, but it doesn't quite play that well, but it's decent enough. It's fun. It's furries just going about their business with melee weapons and various assortments of guns and stuff like that. PS5 version has the 4K HDR kind of support and that kind of thing, and it's free. It's free for December at least. Might as well give it a shot. Or free forever, really, if you remember to claim it. If you don't claim it, then no. Anyway, that's for PlayStation Plus Essential, rather. For games with gold, which is the Xbox thing that Xbox forgets it has, there's Colt Canyon and Bladed Fury, neither of which I have ever heard of. There's no trailer for either of them either, which is not helpful. Colt Canyon, take your revolver and rescue your partner in the atmospheric and punchy roguelike game. It's a 2D pixel art shooter. Okay, so it's like a twin stick Western type thing, I guess. And then Bladed Fury, 2D action game. Don't know. Seems 2D action game. That's all I'm getting from that. Sounds like it's a Castlevania type thing, or a Dead Cells potentially type thing. Don't know. I've never heard of either of those games, so I guess you'll have to find out. Xbox Game Pass. We don't have any news about PlayStation Plus is extra or premium, but we do have some news about what's going to be on the Xbox Game Pass in December. So you have all these games. Chained Echoes. No idea what that is. Eastward is a really good, fairly old school RPG. We played a little bit of it on the channel. It was exclusive to Switch and PC for a while, but it looks like it is now coming to Xbox. No information if it's coming to PlayStation. Probably not. Hello Neighbor 2, as we already discussed on PlayStation Plus, it's also going to be released in Game Pass. High on Life is the next iteration from Squanch Games, the guy behind Rick and Morty. You may have seen some stuff about them on social media, where the guns that talk back to you, or the weapons, rather, that talk back to you, and they all have their own distinct personality. They all have comedic personalities, if you will. Some of the clips that were shown were a little bit not funny. But I don't know. Allegedly, in context within the, confines of the game, it is funny, but I don't know. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, which is the entirety of all the Lego Star Wars games that were redone for the Skywalker Saga thing, so it's all 9 games, and I think Rogue One is added in it as well. I'm not sure. But yeah, Lego Star Wars were always fun, and it's all of them, so that'll be a good shout. Rainbow Billy: The Curse of the Leviathan. No idea. Walking Dead, the final season. The Walking Dead, Telltale, choose your own adventure stuff. Walking Dead season 1 was very good. I don't recall the rest of them being... They weren't hated exactly, but I don't think they held up to the very first season of the game. But whatever. Game Pass, it's free. Potioncraft. I could have sworn Potioncraft was something I was interested in. But reading the thing, I'm not sure about it anymore. Potioncraft is an alchemist simulator where you physically interact with your tools and ingredients to brew potions. You're in full control of the whole shop. Invent new recipes, attract customers, experiment to your heart's content. Okay. I think it was, once again, another thing that... it was like Potion Permit, Potionomics, and Potioncraft. And I'm like... One of those was one I was interested in. And the other ones were I wasn't. And I'm starting to think that there's actually a fourth one that I don't remember the name of. But anyway. Totally reliable delivery service, or delivery totally reliable service, depending on how you want to read that logo, is a kind of slapstick, funky physics sandbox simulator thing where you're meant to deliver packages to point A to point B, and shenanigans happen, and it's very difficult, So think Overcooked, Moving Out, that kind of thing. And then Metal Hellsinger is Doom to a Beat. So you have music playing in the background. It is timed to your shots with your different weapons. And the better you can time your actions in game to the music that is playing in the background, the better damage you will do and the better score you'll get and stuff like that. So it's meant to be like playing to the music specifically. And as difficult as that might sound to be, you kind of get into it after a while. It's surprising how well some of the guns that they have obviously tuned in this way to make it feel this way, but it's really good that the shotgun in particular just hits the beat so well. You know, it already has that kind of boom, cock, like it already hits into a beat already. It's, I don't know, it plays really well. Anyway, that's Metal Hellsinger as well. Those are the monthly games. What if you, however, didn't want to wait for the monthly releases and wanted to play something new right now? You can play Marvel Midnight Suns right now if you wanted to. This is the Marvel characters done in a sort of XCOM tactical squad-based deal. This is playing more with the more occult-focused characters of Marvel, except Spider-Man is there for some reason. Don't ask questions. But you've got things like Doctor Strange, Blade, Magic, those kind of characters you don't really hear too much about. And then they've got, like, you know, fan favorites. Spider-Man's in there, Wolverine is in there, the Hulk is in there, that kind of thing. Iron Man, for whatever reason, is also there. Captain America isn't. Wait, no, he is. I don't know why they say it's the occult-focused characters when it's clearly just... Okay, yeah, there are some of the more magically occult-focused characters, but then very clearly they just threw the Avengers in there too while they were at it. Is there any gameplay in this trailer? Ghost Rider's there too. I think that's the Hulk. Anyway. No, there's no gameplay in this trailer. Anyway, it plays like XCOM. Moving on. Then there's Callisto Protocol, which is meant to be a spiritual successor to the Dead Space series. It's developed by the same people who made Dead Space, who no longer work for EA, because EA shut them down, because they forced Dead Space 3 to be some horrible multiplayer co-op thing when it was never supposed to be that, and then they closed them down when nobody liked that game. Makes sense. Anyway, Callisto Protocol is, as I said, a spiritual successor to Dead Space. Reviews are a bit mixed on it. They feel like it is a bit too clunky and maybe a bit too in Dead Space Shadow. It's not really stepping out of it. If you're cool with just playing Dead Space again, you'll probably be fine with the Callisto Protocol. I am. I'm fine with playing Dead Space again. I have seen some gameplay-wise of it that it is... There are some design decisions that are a little unfair, and I do agree with some of those critiques. If it plays out the way it seems to play out in like the video snippets I've seen, at least, it seems to be that you can get locked into like quick time events with melee opponents and still be getting attacked. Seems a little unfair, especially if it's a survival horror thing where you're trying to, you know, minimize your damage as much as possible, but whatever. We won't know until obviously you get a chance to play it, but whatever. Those are the new releases, I believe, for this week. However, it is now time to talk about the worst part of video games, the video game industry. So, I need a drink before we start this one. So there was a big saga this week when Nintendo cancelled, or forced to cancel, or didn't force to cancel, depending on who you ask about this ridiculous setup. But allegedly, Nintendo forced a community-driven or community-organized Super Smash tournament to close right after Thanksgiving. It was meant to be run next week, I think, and they've had to cancel it because Nintendo said we would, you know, legally pursue you if you don't do these kind of things. So there's been a lot of back and forth between Nintendo, between the community organizers, between the more licensed tournament people, and so on and so forth. So Smash World Tour is the name of the tournament that had to be cancelled, or didn't have to be cancelled, which is unofficial. It's not officially recognized by Nintendo, so it has up until now been sort of combative on whether or not Nintendo would shut it down. They've pushed back on some things over the years, and And the fact that it isn't an officially licensed thing has always made it a little bit difficult to claim any kind of legitimacy and stuff like that. But it has been running for a good long time. It's not just this tournament. There's a bunch of other tournaments that Video Game Bootcamp run around Super Smash and other games, but also Super Smash. So on November 29th, it was announced that Smash World Tour was cancelled. The event's organizers, Video Game Bootcamp, slammed both Nintendo and Panda Global. Panda are a more, professional outfit for tournaments and that kind of thing, for the tournament getting tossed. In its initial statement, Video Game Bootcamp said the cancellation came without any warning, despite us being in contact with Nintendo for the past 12 months. The reason for the cancelling is that Video Game Bootcamp wasn't licensed through Nintendo like Panda Global is. Nintendo started doing a kind of licensing thing in 2021, and the idea was that we won't officially recognize the tournament unless you have acquired a license from us. This has caused plenty of headaches. Organizers have pointed fingers at Panda Global CEO specifically for undermining Super Smash World Tour and various other community organized tournaments to Nintendo and saying, oh, these are just community, like, fly by the seat of their pants. There's going to be health and safety issues all over the place, and you gotta go with a professional outlet like ours and nobody else. At least that's what they are alleging. Attempts to undermine the Smash World Tour and wanting exclusive broadcasting rights. Nintendo then later issued their own statement to sort of attempt to clarify this. The two parties, Nintendo and Video Game Bootcamp, could not come to an agreement on licensing. The company did not request any changes to or cancellation of remaining events in 2022, including the 2022 Championship event, which is the one that was cancelled. Nintendo was saying, we never asked you to cancel it. That was entirely your decision to do that. For Nintendo's part, they said they could still finish this year's tournament, but they wouldn't be able to do any in next year unless they acquired a license, and they weren't able to come to some agreement. Okay. All right. This seems like there's been some kind of miscommunication between the two of them. Video Game Bootcamp were responding to that statement and called it totally bogus, dude. Although I think that's Luke Plunkett's words rather than Video Game Bootcamp's words. Or no, Levi Winslow. I thought this was a Luke Plunkett deal. Anyway, they said the idea that they were unable to come to an agreement was incorrect. Video Game Bootcamp expressed confusion over the company's backpedaling. So they're like, you said we couldn't do any more tournaments, and now you're saying we can after we have cancelled it. You dicks. The organizers were told those times were now over. This is saying that, can we not just continue the unofficial way we've been doing things? And then figured out the licensing for next year, and Nintendo's people came back and said no. Now, there's a way to put this is that Nintendo couldn't say yes to that. Because if they did say yes to that, it's not unofficial anymore, it's official. And their stance is legally, I guess, they can only officially recognize licensed vendors. You don't have a license, so we can't officially say it's okay to keep going. I think they were hoping Video Game Bootcamp would just do it anyway, because they've been doing that, and they have been doing that. From Video Game Bootcamp's perspective, they're trying to get a license, so they don't want to rock the boat on something like that. So if they're told you don't have a license, so you can't keep doing your tournaments until you get one, and they decide to just do it anyway, that's obviously going to affect their ability to acquire a license down the road, right? From their standpoint. So they're in a bit of a shit position in both cases. Anyway, Smash World Tour neither met expectations around health and safety guidelines nor adhered to internal partner guidelines, so why would Nintendo be okay with them still going ahead? That's Video Game Bootcamp's position, is that yes, they asked us to cancel it. Nintendo wouldn't grant a license for Smash World Tour in 2022 or any Smash World Tour going forward. What were they meant to do? Were they meant to just do it anyway and risk litigation? I mean, they have been doing that, but again, they are also trying to play nice and get their license, so, what were they supposed to do there? And then the video game community did its thing and said, oh, we're going to boycott, yada yada, and then, obviously that's not going to happen because video game boycotts are pretty much a guarantee that whatever the thing is will sell a record amount. Super Smash Bros. Community came out in protest of both Nintendo and Panda Global? Yeah, sure. Panda Global. This included other tournament organizers, so not just Video Game Bootcamp, not just the players in the tournament, but other tournament organizers, and are now boycotting the two entities, is Nintendo and Panda Global. And these are some high players, presumably, say that they won't attend any Panda Global events going forward, with a great number of people saying much the same thing. We'll see. I find it unlikely if they're the only game in town. Nintendo decides to release another statement. It says it totally cares about the Smash Bros. Community. Now, all the years ahead of time that they have just completely blanked them would suggest you don't. But okay. Nintendo cares about Super Smash Bros. Fans and its community very much. Fucking doesn't. Anyway, they're clarifying that it had nothing to do with Panda Global or any other external parties, them saying that you had to cease your unlicensed activities. Nintendo expressly stated that the organizers were not required to cancel the 2022 finals event because of the impact it would have on players. So like, we can't cancel this so early. It's very close to, Thanksgiving. People are not going to have time to, cancel their hotels, cancel their flights, all that kind of stuff. So they're like, no, don't cancel it. Now, it's kind of left out here in this summary, but it was only ever a verbal statement that they said you don't have to cancel it, but they're written statements where you have to cancel it. Which is very much keeping them protected if they ever had to go through any legal recourse, that a verbal statement is like he said, she said. You can't use it. There's no evidence there. Whereas actually written down, we said you had to cancel it, and then they didn't cancel it, and now look what happened. That doesn't help. This isn't helping Video Game Bootcamp's position, to be like, Nintendo told us to cancel it. We have it in writing that they said we can't go ahead with it. Anyway, Smash World Tour is struggling to understand Nintendo and its decision making. It's okay, you can say you're struggling to understand, but the real reason is they need to protect themselves legally. I mean, they're a big, disgusting corporation. They have to protect themselves legally. Video Game Bootcamp are struggling to understand why Nintendo contacted us at all last week if they truly wanted us to continue operating. So yeah, it's like, if you wanted this to not be a big shitstorm, you kind of should have just not said anything and just said nothing for 2023. Or just have no correspondence whatsoever until after the tournament was over, and then say, sorry, no license for next year. You would have avoided this whole problem, but whatever. We urge Nintendo to please reconsider how they are proceeding in their approach to the Smash community, and to please reevaluate their relationship with key partners, it's Panda Global, who are causing so much damage. So again, there's allegations that Panda Global have been going around bad-mouthing community organizers to Nintendo. And maybe they have their ear on that kind of stuff. And then Panda Global finally, it's like 2 weeks later or something, Panda Global finally issues, not 2 weeks later, 1 week later, a couple of days later. I don't know, the internet time is... The flow of time is convoluted on the internet. Panda Global said it was just as surprised as the public that the Smash World Tour was cancelled. They were also surprised by the Video Game Bootcamp's attacks on Panda Global itself. He reiterated Nintendo's comments that Video Game Bootcamp was under no obligation to scrap this year's tourney. It kind of was, guys. It kind of was. Yet there's the threat of litigation. There's not much they could do about it. Any implication that the Panda Cup team had any influence in the alleged cancellation of the event is false. However, Panda Global acknowledges that its CEO, Dr. Bunny, engaged in some unbecoming behavior when interacting with other tournament organizers. So yeah, we are totally not involved in getting it cancelled, but also our CEO was doing the things that you all alleged he was doing. Not a great look, guys. Not a great look. Their CEO spoke to Beyond the Summit, which is another community organizer, in a manner which did not reflect either guidance from Nintendo or our own standards. How are they not your own standards? He's the CEO. He is the standard. No? Is that not how it works? Anyway, horrible stink here. Nintendo clearly, if they are trying to pull back and be like better friends to their community, their players and stuff like that, they're doing a bad job. They're doing a real bad job. If, on the other hand, they're continuing their previous efforts to be shitheads to the community, they're doing a good job. I do feel, just based on the merits of what we're seeing in these back and forths, that Video Game Bootcamp were kind of in a position where they couldn't not cancel it. Like, yeah, they had a verbal expressly statement or whatever to say, no, you guys don't have to cancel it. But there's the threat of, litigation and what have you, if they don't. plus Nintendo saying, no, you can't go ahead, written down, you can't go ahead with this tournament because you don't have a license. We want to get a license. If we decide to hold the tournament anyway, is that going to affect our ability to get a license in the future? They're not in a great position. For Nintendo's part, if they want to keep this licensing thing that they want to have going ahead for these tournaments, they have to come down on this kind of thing. This feels like it's a case of Nintendo trying to have its cake and eat it too. But you can't. It has to pick one. You can either go all in on your licensing or not. Or you could have done what like Video Game Bootcamp said, is just not say anything and wait until after the tournament to talk about the licensing issue. Anyway, it still ends. The end result is the tournament doesn't go ahead either way. Anyway. So, again, you gotta shit on Activision. It's like required. I'm contractually obligated, even though I wrote the contract myself, to shit on Activision. So, Blizzard and Albany QA team votes to unionize. This makes them the second QA team within Activision to gain its own union, and I believe it makes it also the second QA union in general in the video game industry. Blizzard and Albany's QA team has voted in favor of unionizing. It's 14 developers voting in favor of, with none against. There are 4 outstanding votes that were disputed, 1 was disqualified, and 3 others were challenged by Activision Blizzard specifically. And the issue they maintain is that they came in late because of the mail, so they were mail-in ballots. Not this shit again. Not this shit, it's fucking polluting Activision as well. Although I shouldn't be surprised, I suppose it is a toxic dump. Anyway, Activision Blizzard refused to drop their challenge to these votes, despite the ballots not actually determining the outcome of the votes. So it's like, even if they, took them out of the voting pool or whatever, it still would have gone ahead. They absolutely had the numbers for it. So why are you even bothering to challenge this? Anyway, from Amanda Deep, Blizzard Albany Associate Test Analyst, with this victory, we're advocating for ourselves and each other because we care deeply about our work and the games we make. Organizing has empowered all of us to fight hard for the dignity and respect every worker deserves on the job. We can only hope that our win will continue to grow the labor movement to other video game studios across the country. I hope so. Activision Blizzard representative said, "Nah, boo." I'm paraphrasing, but only a little bit. Anyway, Blizzard Albany's QA team is now the second within Activision Blizzard to organize. Raven Software QA's team voted for unionization back in May, so that makes them the second one. However, even though Raven Software did get their unionization in May, they're still negotiating with Activision Blizzard. As we have discussed last week, maybe the week before, is that Activision is very much kicking the can down the road and just hoping they will capitulate. And they're also holding off on pay increases and stuff like that the rest of the company is getting, which means they're directly attacking people in the union for joining a union, which is illegal. I really feel like Activision are just holding on until Microsoft buys them and they can just wash their hands of all this kind of stuff. But anyway, we're gonna finish off with something really stupid. Okay, Bohemia ask fans to stop sharing fake real-world war footage made in Arma 3. So this has kind of been a long-running thing in that players take footage of Arma 3, which is a military simulator kind of thing, and then adjust it a little bit, tweak it, make it a little bit shit, so that it can pass off as like grainy war footage kind of thing. And it works, is the problem. The real problem is it works. Anyway, Bohemia Interactive have asked fans to watch out for edited in-game videos being shared around social media that are falsely labeled as real-world war footage. Wait, no, real-world war footage, not real World War footage. We're not in a world war. Okay. Use their game footage responsibly, refrain from using clickbait video titles, and also state clearly that the video originated from a video game. So this is more like, stop saying this is footage from the war in Ukraine and that kind of thing. Like, be very clear that this is a simulated thing from Arma 3, and we are just making it look like that. Obviously, the real issue here is that Arma 3 has a history of being mistaken for real-world footage. A lot of different companies. Did I highlight that? I think I did it down here. ITV were caught up in it. Russia's state-run news service have also used it, although there's allegedly that they knew what they were doing. Iranian state TV have also been pulled in by something like Medal of Honor, and so on and so forth. So this has been happening, and it has been shared around Twitter and stuff like that, that this is wartime footage, and it's just not. It's just fake. Anyway, the content is gaining traction in regard to the current conflict in Ukraine. So Arma, Bohemia Interactive have been trying to be like reaching out to, social media sites and stuff like that to say, no, this is footage from our video game. You need to either take this down or make it clear that it's, not what it's claiming to be. But they have found that they just don't have the reach to be very effective on something like that. So they have instead decided to actively cooperate with leading media outlets and fact checkers. So they're more going through people like Reuters or the Associated Press and stuff like that, who have a much better, a much bigger influence over that kind of thing. But things that they say that you can look out for is that videos are often edited into very low resolution. There's a shaky camera kind of thing added to it. And it's often shown at night because Arma 3 just doesn't have the level of detail that the real world would have. Thanks for the follow, cutest wolf pup just came in, cutest, and that kind of thing. The developer also noticed that Arma 3 doesn't do people all that great. we're not good at doing people in motion. So if you see footage of all of this stuff and it has the low res shaky cam, they're doing their best not to show a level of detail, and you also don't see any people in it. Probably Arma 3 stuff. You should probably be a bit concerned, which is really dumb. It's really, really dumb, but whatever. It's funny as well. Let's see. We'll leave Midnight Suns to loop. And we'll go into our outro. So, and Ticking Boy also following me. Okay. Thanks. Appreciate it. Anyway, what did I want to say? That was the news for the 20th of November to the 4th of December 2022. So some interesting stuff. Some games being announced ahead of the Game Awards, the Game Ads, the Jeff show. He has himself said that the show itself is going to be much shorter than previous years, so it's possible they had to push back on people and say, sorry, we won't have the time to get all of these games in. Maybe. Debatable. We don't know. I guess we'll find out when that happens, which is next week. Thursday, I think? Of this week? Of next week? Whatever way you want to look at it. So yeah, there's that. The Starship Troopers game, I probably won't be playing it because, as I said, it's like a multiplayer focused kind of thing. But it's kind of interesting that there just haven't been Starship Troopers games, since they kind of lend themselves pretty easily to like campy video game stuff. Amnesia, similarly, if it's anything like the other Amnesias, I won't be playing it because I don't like cat and mouse horror stuff. But people like Amnesia, allegedly. I've been led to believe people like Amnesia. So I'm assuming that's the case. Hey, how's it going, cute wolf pup and Ticking Boy? Yeah, new releases or monthly game stuff. We still don't really know much from PlayStation Plus Extra or Premium. The Game Pass is getting some pretty interesting things. Mass Effect Legendary Edition, if you haven't managed to play any of the Mass Effect games, it's definitely the best way to play them. You can drop something in the chat if you want, Ticking Boy. Yeah, so new releases wise, Marvel's Midnight Suns is getting some pretty good reviews. You can send me horror trailers. Yeah, sure. Yeah, Marvel's Midnight Suns is getting some pretty good reviews, and Callisto Protocol is not. It's getting some kind of mixed reviews, which is a bit disappointing. I was kind of hoping that would be really good, but it turns out maybe it's not. I'm still gonna play it, but it still mightn't turn out to be as good as I was hoping it to be. The whole Smash World tour thing, I don't know. Like, neither company are in particular. Neither organization are in great shape for that whole thing. It's not great that the community tournament is the one that gets fucked over, but I guess we'll see. The moderator's probably blocking you, Ticking Boy. You can whisper them to me if you prefer. Yeah, I think I have URLs turned off on my mod. Anyway, what did I want to say? Sweet Home or Home Sweet Home. Sweet Home or Home Sweet Home, because they're two different games, I think. Anyway, I'll have a look at it. It might be interesting. Yeah. What did I want to say? I'm getting sidetracked. Oh yeah, Blizzard Albany QA getting their own unionization vote is pretty good. We want to see more of it. Obviously, would be best. It's obviously clear that Activision are going to do exactly what they've been doing with Raven Software as well, which is not play ball. They're very much, pissed off that this union vote went through and that they couldn't get the NLRB to sign off on it. The Silent Hill PT game, yeah, I well know that one. Cute wolf pup, very cutest wolf pup. Even apologies, the cutest wolf pup. Definitely know that one. It's very, very good. Fortunately, it's also very difficult to find. Anyway, that was the news for this week. But what was happening on the channel this week? So let me open our little shortlist thing. So this is the roadmap that we've had for the second half of this year. And so anyone who hasn't seen these before, the green ticks are games that are on the channel. We have played through them. Some of them are full LPs, some of them were just one-shots. The yellow dots are games that are currently in progress on the channel. Subway Midnight Horror Game. Subway Midnight. I have not. I know Sweet Home. I think Home Sweet Home is probably a different game. And I haven't heard of Subway Midnight. I'll have a look at that. And the Grey Clocks are games that will be up on the channel eventually, soon. And then if it doesn't have a symbol, I don't know. It'll show up at some point, I guess. Anyway, this week we started The Devil in Me, which is the Dark Pictures Anthology's latest game. Of what we played on Monday, it was a lot of preamble and a lot of setup, so we didn't actually get into the horror part too much, other than the prologue. But as we were wrapping up Monday's session, we were starting to get into horror stuff. So tomorrow there'll be a lot more actual horror things happening, I think. Outlast and Outlast 2, yep, I know those ones, Ticking Boy. They're a bit more cat and mousey type horror, which I'm not a big fan of, but I like watching LPs of them, I guess. Someone else can put up with the stress of those kind of games. So yeah, we'll be playing more of this tomorrow, or Monday if you're watching this on YouTube. Wednesday I did not get to play any more of Swansong. I had people visiting, so I wasn't able to get away to do any streaming, so we'll be continuing that. On Wednesday we are at the same place we were at last week. Plague Tale Innocence. No. Hang on. Play. Yes. Not Plague Tale Innocence. Plague Tale Requiem. Yeah, we played a bit more of that last week. We are pretty close to the end of the game now. I'm reasonably certain we'll finish the game Thursday for our session on that. So yeah. And again, the game is pretty new, so I don't want to give away too much of the story. But we are very close to the end of the game, I would think. It certainly feels like it. And then Friday, again, there won't be a stream because I will be playing D&D with my crew. We're going to try to get in one more session before the end of the year, so I will be doing D&D on Friday. But on Saturday, we'll be continuing the Resident Evil 2 1998 playthrough. We are, again, the same place because I didn't have time to play it yesterday. Family was their last day here. Thought their last day was going to be today, but no, it turned out it was yesterday, so I wasn't able to get away to play it. We are pretty much at the end of Claire's first scenario, and then we'll be moving into Leon's second scenario on Saturday, so we'll play through on that. So as it stands, the schedule for schedule for this week is pretty much the same as it was. No, the schedule for next week is pretty much the same as it was this week. So The Devil in Me on Monday, Vampire the Masquerade Swansong on Wednesday, Plague Tale Requiem on Thursday, no stream on Friday, and Resident Evil 2, the original one, on Saturday, and then we'll be right back around to the weekly news recap on Sunday. I am planning on doing a All right, so the Game Awards is the next thing that comes up, or the Jeff Show. So I am debating whether or not to hang on, go into my outro. I'm debating whether or not to do a stream on that, just because it will be very late here when it starts. It'll be half past midnight here. And the show, even though we said it's shorter than most years, it's usually previous years it's been like 3 hours long, 4 hours long. I can't stay up that late. I have work the next day, so I don't know. I'm debating. I may do a pre-recorded thing instead. I don't know. I'm thinking about it, or I might just do a longer running weekly news recap next week and just recap it there. I don't know. I'm also looking to do a kind of end of year recap thing for the channel, and we'll just go through all the games we played on the channel this year and do like a tier list for it, you know, just rank them S, A, B, C, D, whatever. Mostly because there won't be a whole lot of news over Christmas, so doing a weekly news recap is kind of pointless, because there just won't be anything. But yeah, I'm considering it. I might end up I'm going to wrap up the stream here. Cutest Wolf Pup. Weekly news recap is usually a fairly short stream. Anyway, that's what's coming up on the channel this week. And we'll see about the Game Awards and a tier list breakdown of what we played this year over on the channel. Anyway, thanks for dropping by, though, Cutest Wolf Pup, Ticking Boy. I'll have a look at some of those games you guys mentioned. They might show up on the channel at some point. Otherwise, see people tomorrow, or today if you're watching this on YouTube, or in the past if you're really watching this very late on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, if you want to catch any of the LPs, any of the previous iterations of previous installments of these games are on the channel right now, or on the screen right now. It's youtube.com/DoomTrain5. You can find those there. And if you're watching on YouTube and you want to hang out in the chat with Cutest Wolf Pup and Ticking Boy, you can find it on twitch.tv/DoomTrain5. Okay, I'm gonna head off. Have a good rest of your day. Have a good rest of your weekend. Thanks for dropping by, guys. Or girls. I shouldn't assume. Pups don't have a gender. Ticking Boy, I guess I can say, right? I don't know about the wolf pup. Anyway, have a good rest of your day. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for Devil and Me. Bye-bye.